Welcome to all participants who already joined. Thank you for being here with us today. We will wait a few more moments before we begin. Okay, we will begin the event in 2 minutes. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and warm greeting from Indonesia. Welcome to second days of the 7 summer course program, proudly hosted by Faculty of Animal and Agricultural Sciences, Diponegoro University, with the theme Exploring Indonesian Community Service, Tourism, and Agriculture. We are honored to have you here, participants from various countries, distinguished lecturers, and our esteemed guests. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm Bintang Salma Rahmayanti, an agribusiness student, and I will be your master of ceremony for today's session. Before we begin, please allow me to remind you a few important things. Kindly sure to fill out the attendance form to the link provided in the comment section. When entering your name, please use the following format: SC underscore your name, underscore your country. And last, in addition, we kindly ask everyone to use the official virtual background provided by the commit throughout the session. Okay, to begin our event, let us take a moment to pray so that today's program will run smoothly. Amin. And now we are ready to begin today's lecture, which will be delivered by Mr. Musyokron, Master of Science, with the topic Challenges and Opportunities in Strengthening Local Food. To guide this session, we would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Anasrullah, Master of Science, a lecturer from Diponegoro University. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Anas. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Salma. Am I audible? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, Mr.
Okay, thank you so much. So today we have a lecture on the challenge and opportunity in strengthening local food system, especially insight from the British Columbia, Canada, by Mo Shukron, a PhD student in University of British Columbia. So before we start the lecture, I would like to have a brief introduction to Mr. Muhammad Shukron. So I would like to share his CV. Okay, can you see it, guys? Okay, so Muhammad Shukran actually graduated from Gajah Mada University from the Bachelor of Agriculture, Agriculture Extension and Communication in 2017. And then he continued his master in University of Missouri, Columbia, United States of America in rural sociology and graduate certificate in society and sustainability. And currently, he is pursuing his PhD in the Forestry Department, University of British Columbia, Canada. He has extensive work experience as well as the academic experience, and he also writes several articles, especially in the High Impact Factor Journal. So you've read a lot actually. Generative AI and social media may exacerbate the climate crisis, and then seeing the forest for the tree sequel, an extension. And he also read about the understanding small and very small scale seismic processor in Missouri to strengthen the local supply chains. And he got a LPDP scholarship for his master in University of Missouri, Columbia, USA, and he also got the PhD scholarship from the University of British Columbia. So I think without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Muhammad Shukran. Muhammad Shukran, Mr. Muhammad Shukran, are you with us?
Yes, so I'm just gonna check in that if everyone is okay with my voice. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. So first of all, I'd like to thank for all the Diponegoro University organizer for this summer course. This is the seventh summer course, which I am feeling so honored to be here, and it's been very nice to be very warm welcomed by Ibu Salma and also my colleague and also my friend, Mr. Anasrullah. And yes, in this kind of like an occasion, so I think this is kind of like a sharing session. So I'm still a student as well. Some of you also maybe like so students. So I think we can learn from each other in here. But in here, I'm gonna share what I've done like in the past, as well as some sort of insights into the local food system in general. So first of all, I'd like to share my screen. So let's see if I'll be able to share it with you all. So can everyone see my screen
Yes, yeah.
well?
Yeah, we can see the
Okay,
screen.
all right, nice.
It's
Okay,
in, wait a minute, it's in the presenter view, so can you change
is
it into,
okay, let me see. Is it in a full screen mode right now?
yeah, right now it's in the full screen mode.
Okay, nice. Yeah, thank you. And also, like, if there is any technical difficulties, please everyone let me know. And also, if you have any questions, you can show it like in the chat or in the comments, or maybe like a give some sort of like a reactions emojis, and so you can let me know. Right. So okay. So the title of my presentation is about challenges and also opportunities in strengthening local food systems. And this is kind of like a drawn from the British Columbia province, which is one of the largest province. I think it's the third largest one in Canada. If anyone may not be familiar with it, but yeah. So we're gonna like dive deep into it. And about myself, so I'd like to thank I think Mr. Anas, who read my bio, is also my CV in here, just an extension that I'm currently like a PhD student in faculty of forestry, though this is like in forestry, but I'm studying about palm oil sustainability and also like the use of social media, how people are perceived issues and also like the challenges in that. I'm also like working with the Lincoln University of Missouri, USA in the past as a research assistant and with the Department of Cooperative Research. In that, I and also like my supervisor actually like investigated the small scale and also medium-sized meat processors in Missouri. So things like butchers and people who kind of like a slaughter, the animal livestock, like like lamb, like goats, cows, and also deers, yeah, something like that. So which is, I think, also relevance to people or folks within the Faculty of Animal Science and also Agriculture at Diponegoro University. And let me see. Um, Up next, which is the kind of overview of what I'm going to talk today. So this is about like the structure, and then first of all, we gotta like learn about the key concepts and also local food systems and some pros and also cons of the local food systems, and kind of like derive from international framework. What would be like the underpinning like theories and also like programs out there outside of Indonesia. that kind of like a focus on local food system efforts. And I'd like also to showcase you about the urban agriculture in Vancouver. So I think like given the topic, so maybe like if anyone could maybe tap in the chat or maybe unmute yourself. So how familiar are you with the local food system? So you can just like a type, for example, like yes, no, or to some extent, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I've got like some response from Dinda Ayu, quite familiar, which is nice. How about other folks? How are you doing? Yeah, familiar. Yeah, from Muhammad Atif Shadat, and Ratih Paramasuti. A little bit, yeah. So I think we've got a couple of like samples, kind of like a mix, right? Whether they are already familiar, quite familiar, or maybe some sort of still learning about it, right? And thank you so much for your response, by the way. And this is the learning objectives of today's kind of lecture. I won't call it like a lecture, but it's kind of like a sharing session. So you're gonna like understand the key concepts, challenges, and also like opportunities in local food systems, and then develop understanding of the frameworks focusing on the local food system. And then last but not the least is being able to identify. So in here, this is part of like your homework. So I am going to like spill the tea a little bit, and also like critically like examine food assets or environment that is close to where you are, and that is like a significant to local communities. All right, another check-in. So I know that, I mean, like I don't know much about like the summer course, but I think I've heard that this is gonna be like the second day of the summer course. So how is everyone doing so far? So are you feeling like excited? Maybe like it gives a thumbs up, or maybe thumbs down. Like if you think that, oh, okay, this is maybe like a something that I don't wanna do it, or yeah, etc. But I think like most of you are really excited, right? Like to join the summer course, and I think you have lots of like energy to kind of listen and also like join the kind of like exciting sessions from other speakers. So yeah, please give like a maybe type in the chat like if you are doing like okay, or maybe like you have like some sort of like personal maybe like issues. I don't know, yeah. So yeah, thumbs up, or yeah, Anasrullah, yeah, give a love sign, which is I think kind of exciting for us. All right, yeah, Findas, Rati, yeah. Right, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I got like some love heart here. Nice one. Yeah, so the reason why I'm checking in, sometimes it's just that uh lectures can be like a boring for some sense, because I'm also like a student, right? And sometimes like it's kind of like a feeling sluggish in the morning, and then I just kind of like I want to, have a me time, for example, and then I think this is a great exercise. Kind of like a brief warm up for all of us. All right. This is a lot of text, I know, but this is kind of like a give you some sort of key concepts in the local food systems in general. So one of the like, kind of like a most vocal, I think, countries like in the world, including like Europe and also Canada, USA is one of the kind of most vocal country when it comes to local food system advocacy. So in here by the USDA, or the United States Department of like Agriculture, they define that local food system is based on what? So they call it like the radius, or like the distance of where food is being produced, and also where it is consumed. So in here, the local food system is considered if the food is produced within the radius of 100 to 400 miles, or actually like equivalent to 1 and 60, and I think 560 or sorry, like 640 kilometers. Yeah, so it's quite kind of like a long journey. But if we think about like the scale, so the local food system can encompass, for example, like food being produced within a certain region. So it can be like a districts or like kabupaten, let's say, or maybe like a cities or kota, and then province, etc. So in here, the key important thing is the distance, the locations where food is being produced or being grown. Like for example, like in the field, like if you buy, let's say like a carrot from a market, so where the carrot was grown, right? So that's like a where they measure the locality of the food. And then according to Vancouver Park Board, the local food system encompasses like the whole food cycle, actually, like not only from the growing part, but also like until the food is being consumed and also being thrown away or composted. So it's not just like the production of the food, but also food consumption and also waste management. And then the third one, which is from the Colorado State University, they define that the food system is not only about the food production, but also the connections, the relationship with the natural resources, with the environment, with the water, with the land, with also the like weather, and also like other kind of like a built environment that support the productions of such agriculture products. And also like the actors, which are the farmers and maybe middlemen, consumers, and also retailers, like who sell the food, right? And then the communities being impacted by this system. And then from the city of Vancouver in 2021, again, it emphasizes the whole food cycle from kind of production till the waste management. And some of you might be like wondering, why is it like a local food? Because local food is something that is being raised, grown, or produced or processed within a local context. So it can be like from the original, the raw materials are being produced, but also like the process in making the added values of the food. For example, um, like farmers like growing like a cassava, and then they can further process the cassava into, for example, like a chips, like keripik singkong, for example, or cassava chips or something like that. And this is can be considered as local food as well. And as I kind of like I mentioned like briefly, that it encompasses from the production from the producing kind of like a level or aspect until to packaging and also like a waste management. So it includes like some sort of like a processing, how food is being processed, being manufactured, with whether like it's like a small scale, like in household level or like on home ground. So I know that in here, like in Indonesia, there are lots of UMKMs, or kind of like a micro and also like a smaller scale enterprises, agricultural enterprises, and also like distribution kind of like a networks, how food is being kind of like a delivered from one place to another, and also like the marketing, how food is being kind of marketed and then sold in what kind of like a channels, right? Whether they use some sort of like internet or they sell it like a face-to-face in a local market, in a supermarket, stuff like that. So transportations also comes into the place, food service, like food is being served like in what kind of environment. Let's see, like food catering industries, or maybe like in cafeterias, in local canteens, or maybe like in university, at Diponegoro University canteens, for example, or maybe like street vendors, and then um, the third, I think the sixth one, which is the consumption part, is like how food is being consumed and also being managed after they are consumed by a human, or even like other living beings like animals. And then why local foods are significant. So this is kind of like addressing some of the problems, including the population growth, which are kind of like projected to grow exponentially like within the coming years, and also the urbanization kind of challenges. The development, for example, of like apartments or multi-unit residential buildings, or maybe like in kind of like campus situation, some sort of like kos-kosan or like a student dormitory or something like that. So with this kind of lack of spaces to grow food, that food is becoming more limited, and also um, people have less access actually like to the land, and then maybe like this is also relatable or resonating with I think most of us, like especially like in Java, like if you have like a piece of land from your parents and then they're trying to divide it up by the number of kind of like the childrens that they have, and then the agricultural land or plots are becoming smaller and smaller, and then with the kind of less interest of people of youth in engaging in agriculture, so food production becomes somewhat like a problematic in a way that nobody would like to be farmers, although like in some cases some millennials or some kind of like a new generations are attracted to it, but like with the kind of shortened land available for them, I think it becomes also like a challenge, especially with the population growth and then reliance on the food imports. So in here, I would like to also ask you all in here. So can you name some food items that are imported to Indonesia, actually? So can you name some of them? So you can throw them like in the chat if you want. Or yeah, actually like on the Zoom, I think there is a feature called annotate, so you could type it like on my slides as well. It's also fine. So yeah, I will encourage you like to, can you think a bit in terms of what food items that can be produced in Indonesia or cannot be produced in Indonesia, but they are imported from other countries to here. Yeah. So I think I gonna wait for a couple seconds. Yeah, I think I saw some chats in the comments. Yeah. So great one. Soybean, yeah, tea and coffee, yeah. Fruits, yeah, most of them as well. Rice, although like I mean, in the past we have been self-sufficient, but with the growing populations and also like I think we are still importing rice from Thailand and other Southeast Asian countries, including like China as well. Rice, soybean, and then peanuts. Yeah, yeah, especially like I think we are a kind of already familiar, right? And also like know well like tempeh or tofu, which are being made by soybean. I think some producers are still reliant on soybean, especially from North America, from USA and also Brazil. Cacao, Thai rice, sugarcane, mung bean, wheat, yeah, definitely because we can grow wheat here. Rice porang, yeah, and black pepper, yeah, dates, yeah. And also some spices, I guess, like garlic and also other stuff, nutmeg, yeah. All right, so good job, everyone, and also thank you for your chats. Again, the rising food prices. I think we are already aware that after COVID-19, food are becoming more expensive in some ways. Although like there are some sort of like fluctuations, but again, we are not seeing the food being dropped in terms of the price. And also declining rural health and also vitality. So lots of like migrations, right? And also people are kind of uh, relocating to a bigger cities, like in Metro Jakarta, for example, or other, for example, like where are you guys from? Let's say, like I kind of bet like not all of you also like come from Semarang, right? To attend to the university. So people are sailing from all over the places into kind of like a more dense areas, and then it somewhat's becoming kind of like a problematic for rural areas that they lose kind of like a manpower. Once they graduated, for example, they started to kind of like move to bigger cities or maybe like other places that are lucrative, that can provide decent jobs or anything like that. All right. So some sort of cons or things that are critics, yeah, finally as well. Yeah. Thank you, Fatima. Some cons of the local food systems includes the price. So maybe not always the case in Indonesia, but like in North America, especially like in USA and also Canada, the local food system and then their products are somewhat pricey compared to industrialized food. Food that can be bought from supermarkets are a lot cheaper. Like, if you are familiar with Walmart, Aldi, maybe Costco, um, yeah, and Lotte Mart, something like that. So in their location, that food items are kind of cheaper compared to food sold at the farmers market. The reason why is that they have like a large scale production or mass productions, by doing some sort of like a monoculture production or monoculture system, and then they could produce a more yield or result or produced, and then they can sell it for a cheaper price compared to, for example, like smaller farmers who have maybe, for example, less than 1 hectare of land, and then they produce less yield with the rising cost of the agricultural inputs like fertilizers, and also maybe some sort of pesticides and other things. So the food items is becoming more expensive, especially in terms of the local food. And then there's also like some saying that it's not always true or the case that local food system can lower greenhouse gas emissions and also promote fair labor. Although like some evidence suggests that it can contribute to lowering the greenhouse gas emissions because the local food that is being grown, for example, it can address the transportations networks, so it has less emissions and also like a less need to transfer the food from one place to another place as well. And also with the smaller scale of um, agricultural productions, it means that they do not really use like heavy kind of like a machine, or maybe needs more fuels to kind of like do their jobs in the field. And the costs, including like the excluding culturally appropriate food. So we know that some kind of like populations can be like a diverse. For example, like in Indonesia, we've got lots of like ethnicity, right? Including, for example, like in Java, let's say. We've got like a Japanese people, we've got like a Sundanese, maybe like if you take a look from the western part of Java, we've got like some Betawi people, and also including like the Chinese descendant of Indonesia, and then maybe people from the eastern part of like Java. So we've got lots of diverse like populations, and sometimes like also like a foreigners as well, like coming to Indonesia, maybe as a visitors, or maybe like they want to stay in Indonesia, let's say. And then not all of like food that is available here can accommodate their request. And then with the local food that cannot grow like everything, let's say for example like wheat, so we can't rely the Indonesian farming to supply those kind of like wheat, right? So that's why like we need import. So this is just like an example. So that's why like the critics of local food sometimes like for certain food items they cannot accommodate all of the requests from a diverse populations. And then scalability, again like with the kind of like a smaller scale productions, and also like the seasonality. We are so fortunate in Indonesia that we can grow all seasons all year. But for people or farmers living in temperate countries, up north, for example, like in Canada, so we can't grow anything like in winter. So again, this seasonality can be problematic for food productions in general. Right, so some kind of framework in local food system and also regional food system. This is from the international kind of like, or the global level or global context, which is the food security. So the food security, so this is really, really different from the food sovereignty, which I'm going to talk a bit later. And then the food security is essentially a situations or condition if this kind of like um, indicators are met. So it is a condition when all people, so at all times, so regardless like the time, and then have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and also food preferences for an active and healthy life. This is based on FAO 2001. So in the past, that the food security is becoming kind of like um, somewhat an agenda, but also like a problem as well, because there are some sort of like a development within the food security in the past in 1996. Um, so there are like a four pillars or four dimensions, what we call it. So the first one is availability. So availability means that as long as food is available at that time, so we can satisfy the availability regardless like where the food is coming from, whether it can be like from local production, whether it can be from imports from other countries. So as long as food is there, that we have food, so availability dimension is satisfied. And then we've got like access. Access means that people have physical, social, and also economic access, so they have money or in other kind of forms of money. In the past, that the Indonesian people, we do like some sort of like um, exchanges. So it's not like money that can be used to exchange the food, but also like other things. So again, like, but this is still called like economic access and also social access. Whether like if we want to buy the food, it is socially acceptable or not, and also like a physical access. How far is the food place from us, right? If we don't have any means of transportations, either like motorcycles, let's say, or maybe bikes or cars or like a public transport, so it means that food items are not accessible physically. And then utilization is the use of the food itself, including like the sanitation and also like resources to support the food itself. Whether we have like access to quality water, whether we have like kitchen equipments. So it becomes like a useless, like if we have food items, but we don't have anything to process it, to cook it, for example. Although still we can eat raw foods, but not all of like raw foods can be eaten, right? So for example, like meats and also like other products needs to be processed or cooked first before it can be consumed by us. And also like a stability. So stability means that the food system should be adaptable to like shocks or like a stress. For example, like um, disasters or even like a COVID-19 pandemic or other kind of like, let's see, with the current situation like war, like which is like kind of happening in the globe. So in here, stability is also important, like to satisfy that food is being available at the time, regardless like the timing. So if, for example, like I'm hungry right at this time, so I could access the food. In 2020, they add two other dimensions, which are sustainability and also agency. Sustainability means that the productions and the consumption of the food should respect the environmental health and also respect the future generations. So it means that the food productions should not provide adverse or negative impacts to environment and also like the people as well. And also it is there to support the future generations, like people who might be like born after us, so they could still enjoy the food items. And agency, last one. So agency means the individual and also like collective capacities to define their own food. So they know like how to process food, they know nutritions of the food itself, and then they can take part as an agent of change to kind of solve the problem involving in the food system. All right, so this is kind of like a challenges ahead. So this is based on the HLPE report or high level panel of experts. Um, I think this is from the FAO about the food security and also like nutrition. So in here that we need to widen our understanding of food security and also adopt a food system approach. Because we are kind of like a failing in addressing the SDG 2 goal. So can everyone mention or maybe like can everyone recall what SDG 2 goal is? Yeah. I know that there are like a 17 SDGs, which are kind of like aligning with this short course as well. So I'm just going to ask you like what SDG 2 means. So what kind of topics or issues is being addressed? Yep, zero hunger. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Yeah, Siti Jalila and also Nurul Arifianti. Yeah, zero hunger. I think SDG 1 is kind of like addressing food. Sorry, I think poverty. So SDG 2 is zero hunger. So again, this is really important in a way that there are a lot of like kind of challenges in the past and also like maybe in the future. So in the past we have come up with the COVID-19, which kind of like disrupt the supply chains in general with the rising, for example, like the war in the past between like Ukraine and also like Russia, and that kind of like um affects the oil prices and also disrupt like food prices as well. Maybe in the coming years, we never know, right? Especially like in Indonesia as well, there are lots of natural disasters like volcanic eruptions, let's say earthquakes, or maybe like just like a smaller scale disasters like fires, right? And other things. Again, like a pandemic, malnutrition, and stuff like that. They're kind of like affecting how food is being contested. And then there's also like a growing demand for the food with the rising kind of populations. And also context specific solution. So this is why the local food system is really important, because we also sometimes like forget that local like knowledge and practices from farmers, they are inherited from generations to generations, sometimes you know are disappearing. And also like the rights to food for indigenous people are somewhat limited, restricted, right? Like for example, like if there is like a mining company coming like into the place, people who are being like farmers, they are forced to move away, and then they lose their jobs. Or people maybe like who've done kind of like a fishing, access to ocean, they've done like a hunting and gathering, or maybe like fishing in their local kind of like a water bodies, and they're being forced to kind of move away because of the kind of industrialized like development. So again, so the local food system is important. And I'm not sure like if you are familiar with this one, but this is actually a way that the HLPE and also like other kind of like a bodies trying to measure the food insecurity level. So this is from the FEAS or Food Insecurity Experience Scale. So it's essentially um, it can be like a census, but also a survey actually to measure the household level food insecurity. So in here from the left part, I'm going to use the lesser part. So in here on the left part, which is the mild food insecurity, means that if people kind of worry about food is being like procured or like being produced, and so coming to the right level, which is the kind of a more severe food insecurity. So in here, for example, like if you think that you have some sort of worriness, um, in terms of like maybe within the coming years, I won't be able to eat, I won't be able to buy food, or maybe like within like a couple of weeks or a month that I don't have enough to buy something, then you might be experiencing like mild food insecurity. But you still have some food in general. And then the second one, which is the kind of the second column and also like a third column or boxes, are moderate food insecurity, in which that you start thinking that, oh, maybe you have the food, but like the quality is not great. So maybe it's kind of like a near to the expiration dates. And then maybe it started that the food items having weird tastes, or maybe smells, stuff like that. And in here, like the key is the quality of the food. So if you think that you might be experiencing that way, so this is called moderate food insecurity. And then the last one, which is the devastating one, is the severe food insecurity. This is why, like for example, like people experiencing like a hunger and acute hunger, and also like a starvation. So in this case, that you might cut the portion of your meals, or you might skip your meals. For example, like if you usually like eat 3 times a day, then you might just have one per day, or maybe you cut the portion to a half, I'd say. Yeah, but this is just like a method in terms of like measuring food insecurity, which are also like an issue for people actually that are trying to kind of being more self-sufficient in terms of the food. And this is the Canada context that actually like from 2018 to 2022. So there are like two different boxes. The blue colors represents the kind of individual living in poverty and who are food insecure. And then the red boxes are people who are not living in poverty. So it means that they have enough income by the Canada government standards, but they are experiencing food insecurity. So again, like from this trend, actually like before COVID-19 pandemic, like into 2018, the blue ones, so individuals who live in poverty, um, actually they have uh, they have experiencing more food insecurity. But actually from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, we've seen that all different groups, all two groups are reporting that they experience a higher level of poverty. So this is from what we've seen from I mean, like Canada, which is one of the developed countries. Still, like in Canada, people are still reporting that they have issues in accessing like the food. We never know like in terms of like the levels. But in here from the graph, we can see that the trend is increasing, which is alarming for us as well. And the breakdown for each province in Canada. So in here, the I think the left axis denotes the provinces in Canada, and British Columbia, which is kind of like a one of the most. I won't say like it's not like the prevalent one, but in compared to other provinces in Canada, British Columbia um, is having more food security. So it means that their level of food insecurity is less compared to other kind of like provinces. And I'm going to um, actually show you like why British Columbia can be a good example in managing like a local food system based on this kind of graph. but still, the food insecurity prevalence are still higher, and especially like among the diverse kind of or ethnic communities, like including like Black Canadians, which are really I think it's almost like doubles compared to like South Asian Canadians, and also like the Chinese Canadians. And in here, as you can see from the graph, so British Columbia, so this is the map of Canada actually, which is kind of like the second largest country in the world in terms of land mass. So in here, as I pointed out, that we don't have the data from the gray area in here, the three territories, which are up north, closer to the kind of Arctic. And British Columbia is the westernmost province in here. And actually, like based on this kind of statistics in here, BC is considered having a good in terms of food insecurity level. Although like in here, you can see like on the eastern part of the regions, which is the province of Quebec, where the city of Montreal is. So it has the least kind of prevalence of food insecurity. But again, like generally, like 10 million Canadians, including 2.5 million children, in the 10 provinces live in food insecure household. So again, like even for developed countries, that this problem is still prevalent, and uh, we never know like what happened, like what's gonna happen like in the future based on like this kind of figures. And we kind of like a cross check with the visits to the food bank. Although maybe like in here there are lots of kind of like a program, right? They are offered by the government, and also maybe like some sort of like NGOs, and also by other kind of like communities. But in kind of like North American countries, the food banks, or like the people that can access to the food to local charities, are prevalent. And in here, this is the uh, number of food bank visits. So as you can see that from 2019 to 2024, the visits are generally increasing. So the blue ones are the number of visits, and then the orange bars are the individuals. So increasing demand for accessing food banks, so and also increased food insecurity, and as well as the need for charitable hunger relief support in general. And kind of like an extension from the food security, why the food sovereignty can be a framework for food in local food system. It is because that in here, like on the right side, as you can see from the kind of little illustration or picture, that it focuses on food for people, and then it values food providers, which are like the farmers, producers, and then the third important part is, which is the localized food systems. So in here, it emphasizes more in the kind of like reductions of distances between food providers and also like consumers. So it tries to kind of fulfill the need for food, but also it maintains like that food should be short enough to get to people. And then it put controls locally, the rights of local communities to access the food and also like enjoy the benefits, but also like for them to not being impacted negatively by the food productions in any ways, and build a knowledge and also skills, and then work with nature. It means that it won't harm like and the environment, and also like the people as well as the communities. um and yeah, this is kind of like an extension, whereas like the in food security, so food can be provisioned or it can be actually leveraged in any ways, including like imports, because as long as food is there, is available, so it means that we are food secure. But for food sovereignty, it means that the food should be grown, should be produced at local contexts, so there is no import reliance, stuff like that. So this is kind of like a more advanced one when it comes to building food sovereignty. Right. So up next, well, yeah. So a little bit of like a food sovereignty, that the concept is kind of was established like in 1990s, and then this is due to like the concerns of like greenhouse gas emissions, as well as the vulnerable groups to land rights inaccessibility, and that's why like we need more kind of like effort from policy and also like governance, and we need to also develop climate smart agriculture. They are adaptable to mitigate and also adapt the greenhouse gas emissions, and so like the issues with the climate change, and also increase access to technology and resources, especially like for people in remote areas or vulnerable groups. So a little bit of like a background of the food sovereignty. So can everyone maybe know like who the guy is? Can name them? Yeah, who is he? Yeah, so in here, so a little bit of like the background. So while I'm speaking, so maybe like you could Google a little bit in terms of like food sovereignty. So this is what we call like a father food sovereignty. Um Especially like this is kind of like emerging after the World War II, I think, which happened, I think, post World War II, which happened kind of like in 1939, or yeah, in that kind of like year. So this is because of the rise in industrialized food in North America. That people are reliant to industrialized food, including like the wheat and also bread, milk, stuff like that. And then it poses kind of like threats to indigenous people and also smaller scale farmers, because they are being pushed away because of the agro industries developments in that area. And maybe like some of you already familiar with this one, the Green Revolution or Revolusi Hijau. I think in Indonesia, I can't remember like when it started, but I think it was during the New Order era in 1960s to 1980s, I would say. Yeah, when there are lots of kind of like subsidies to agriculture, including the use of pesticides and other technological kind of like innovations, like seeds and also pesticides. Farmers are being helped by the government, but there are also like a mixed result. There are like a positive impacts in a way that people could. I think farmers are, yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, that's right, Anas. And I think the Green Revolution has some mixed kind of like a results, like being positive in a way that we could be more self-sufficient in terms of like the food. In the past, we are self-sufficient when it comes to rice productions. We also exported rice, but but also like it becomes also like problems, because the natural resources, the environment are being degraded, and people are reliant on fertilizers. Like in the past, we use kind of inorganic materials that are kind of like bad for the environment, and also reliance on the subsidies. And then the social movement, which is kind of like the rise of La Via Campesina in 1996, which tries to advocate the right for people to produce their own food and also be able to use their own land. And Yelani Declaration as well, the right-based framework. Right, so this is the name of the guy. It's called the father of the Green Revolution. It's called Norman Borlaug in Mexico. So he developed, I think, a hybrid kind of like a seed um, of wheat varieties to kind of like boost the productions of the wheat in Mexico or Latin America. All right. I think another frameworks. I'm just like checking in terms of like the time, and it is almost an hour. So I hope that you're still sticking with me. Um, yeah. So I think I'm just gonna like skip this part because like this is actually like a derived from FAO. It's called like a city region food system, which is kind of like advocates like urban agriculture, and then it fosters kind of a collaboration between rural and also like urban areas. We know that lots of development right now, they're like a city center and then they're like a suburbans, and then we're trying to link them in terms of like a food production and also like a food consumption. Um, but yeah, this is kind of I think, well, it's not that significant, but it gives kind of information in terms of like how city region food system is being developed. Yeah, it's kind of like addresses the SDG number 2, which is kind of like a food security, nutrition, and sustainable agriculture. And also SDG 11, sustainable cities, and SDG 12, the sustainable productions and consumptions. And this is actually this is just like additional information that from the kind of city region food development. There is a Milan Urban Food Policy Act and MUFPP, and Vancouver becomes like one of the signatory to get involved in the project, which actually like kind of like a foster food production, food supply distributions that links between the city and also the nearby remote locations for economic development, and also um, providing development to sustainable diet and nutrition, as well as the policy framework. So this is the map of how they link together around the world. And in Indonesia, there are lots of actually like cities that involved in this kind of like a project, including Bandung, Denpasar, Surakarta, and Sukabumi. And I think there are like 2 other signatories from I think from the project in 2015. I think Muaru Jambi in Sumatra, and I can't remember like the other one, but it's Indonesian city actually. Oh, it's Manado. Um, So an overview about like Vancouver and also BC. In here, this is the map of Vancouver, which is on the kind of coastal area of the province itself, and it is the largest metro area in BC, and then the third largest city in Canada after Toronto and also Montreal. An overview of the BC agriculture, that in here there are some top commodities for BC, including mushroom, um, potted, and also like a bedding plants, blueberries, and also well, actually like salmon and also like the seafood products are also like the top commodities. They are exported from BC. It's not included in here because the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, they try to separate these commodities into a kind of different division. So the top kind of like export countries are, or destinations are the United States, which are the neighbors, China, and also like Japan. So yeah, again, like other kind of like export commodities, also including the baked goods, including like cookies, breads, and stuff like that. Salmon, tallow, mushroom, crabs, animal feed, chocolate, blueberries, and also like some other berries as well. So in here, again, that we can see like on the export, there also like some sort of like a fluctuations based on the percentage of the change year to year. In here, because of the various reasons, including like the increase, for example, like tariffs from the United States, and also like the other kind of events, including like the wildfires that are happening like in the past, and also the conflicts or the war between Russia and also Ukraine, and also like the shift in terms of like consumer preferences in terms of like the food. So in here, like all of the local food action plan are managed by the Vancouver Park Board at municipal level policy to develop kind of like a just and sustainable local food system. So they want to kind of like reduce barriers to under-reserved communities, mitigating shocks and stuff like that. And the last one, which is the decolonizing food assets. This is uh, this is important because like in the past that Canada has actually like in the past was colonized by the European people. There are lots of like European settlers in Canada, and then the I'm not saying like original or the native people, which are the Indian people, are being forced to move out from where they live because of the colonial settlers. They are trying to live there, and then that's why like they want to reconcile the social conflicts and also like issues that happened in the past by prioritizing the indigenous food system and also indigenous people. So some of the policy framework, including local food system action plan, and I think like in 2013, they developed local food action plan or LFAP to accommodate kind of indigenous people. They are called Musqueam, Squamish, and also Silveted nations, who are the native people of the land. So again, this is the goal of the LFAP, which is kind of like a center on the indigenous work, indigenous rights to access the food, and then to improve equity and also strengthen food partnership, and also build long-term food system resilience uh, in the future. Some plans also like the strategies, including urban agriculture policy in 2015 and the Greener City Action Plan in 2015, urban agriculture garden guide, and then healthy city strategy. And actually, like the second one, the Greener City Action Plan, makes the Vancouver become the second greenest city in the world. I think the first one is a Scandinavian city. I think it's Denmark or other city. Yeah, but Vancouver becomes like the number two in terms of being the greenest city in the world, uh, based on this action plan. And yeah, the Vancouver's effort in strengthening local food system, including like developing culture gardens and community gardens, orchards, community food programs. Programs they are aiming at local residents to enjoy the food, to get access free food, and also to learn by joining workshops like food literacy and also like kitchen facilities. They can use the kitchen from faith-based community centers, and then food markets, concessions, also restaurants. So food assets. So food assets can be considered as a tangible or intangible resources available to residents of the city that can support the urban food system. So in here, so food asset is not the food itself, but it is an environment or it is a place where people can grow, prepare, store, buy, receive, or learn about food. And we might know that asset can be considered as a capitalist context when it comes to asset, or maybe like something about like money or something about capital. But the asset is used to accommodate various form of kind of interrelationship between culture and also like the communities. So food asset can be community kitchens, field house activations, markets, concessions, public programs, or events. So it can be like a restaurants, like local canteens, or maybe like local markets, supermarkets. All of them can be considered food asset. And then Vancouver food asset map. So this is developed by the Vancouver Coastal Health, which is the administrator of the health authorities in Metro Vancouver area. So it's like the what we call kind of provincial level health authorities in some sense, and solo various partners in it. So in here, like as you can see from the map, so they develop like a map in which that residents could get access to free and low cost grocery stores, garden spaces, and also indigenous food programs, community kitchens, retail stores, and also markets. So these are not extensive lists. These are, I think, the community kitchens and also like the community gardens. So I am not showing like all of these food asset map because it can be like overwhelming and they are kind of looking so close to each other, so we can't really see them. Yeah, so this is a list of the Vancouver neighborhood, or in here maybe like kelurahan or kampung or like desa or something like that. Because like in Canada, I think the lowest level of the administrative regions are the city or the township, whereas like in here in Indonesia, so under, for example, like the city, we still, or city, or maybe um, district, like kabupaten or kota. So we still have kecamatan or sub-district, and then I think village level or kelurahan, and then we might have kampung or dusun, right? So yeah, so and then the neighborhood is essentially a group of a location. It's kind of like FT Airway, something like that, but they don't have this specific administrative level. So it's just a boundary level, yeah, but they don't have like their officials or the head of the neighborhood. So they come up with this idea in which, for example, like if I live close to, for example, like Hastings on Sunrise a community food network, so I can access to this particular location to access food when it comes that for example, I have no money to buy food, or even if I think that I need to spend my money to something else which are more important, but I don't have it for for buying food. Yeah, so this is in North Vancouver, the left side, and then the middle part, which is the Richmond, which is actually this just south of Vancouver, and then in Sunshine Coast, which is the coastal area of the mainland itself. All right, so I'm just going to check in with all of you guys. We are going to do food asset activity on Miro board. So I'm not sure like if we can do this, but let's see. I'm just going to see like how many participants do we have. So we've got maybe roughly 50-ish. In here, I'm going to throw like in the chat like the Miro board. So what you can do is actually identify a food asset, including a brief descriptions of what the food asset is. So is it maybe, for example, like a restaurant, or is it like event, or is it a program, or where are they located? For example, like is it in Semarang, is it in Tembalang, or is it where, right? And then maybe you can take like a screenshot of the location. I think the a good starting point would be like using the Google Maps and then trying to see what's available there. And I'm going to include the link and then you can access it. So I'm going to stop my screen for a bit. And then let's see, I'm going to copy paste the link and then you can access. All right, so everyone, if you can access this link, it's a Miro board in here, and then just throw like in maybe you could click it, and then it might ask you to register, but I think it's free, and you could definitely like work on that. And I'm going to kind of like share what I've got on my report. So the task is to identify one food asset. So it can be like anything, right? Local market, it can be like a program, events, or anything that you think uh, it can have some sort of like a food items where people could get access it from, or maybe like it's a place to sell some food, stuff like that. And let me know like if you have a problem or like experiencing like some issues with accessing the My Report. All right, I'm going to share my report and let's see what we've got so far. So actually, like if you can follow, like on the left part, there are text, there are shapes and line, and you could also like create the features as well. So let's see in here, I'm going to name like a food items. Let's say, uh, can everyone name like a local market in Tembalang or like you know like pasar? So let's say pasar X, and then you can throw like some screenshots of the picture of the food asset itself. Yeah, I've seen on the food truck program. Yep, and you could add some stickers and also like a sticky notes as well.
Yes, I think
Who I can,
it's much better to use the sticky notes so everyone
yeah,
can see it more clearly.
yeah. So the sticky note is like a little box on the left. You can like choose any colors if you want. Let's say like the place that is close to me or where my hometown is, which is Pekalongan, is Pasar Wiradesa. If anyone maybe have heard of it, yeah, like Pasar Wiradesa, and then there is also, since it is close to um coastal area, there's also TPI, what is called tempat pelelangan ikan or fish auction kind of like a place. So we've got Pasar Bandarjo Ungaran, yes. And then ada Swalayan as well. And Bringojo Market is in Yogyakarta. And Superindo Ngeserep, ya Pasar Banyumanik on the bottom left. Ya Pasar Jatingale, Pasar Induk. I was just like wondering, no one mentioned kind of local farms. You happen to know maybe any greenhouse kind of uh, farming activities or pautere market in Makassar, fish market? Yeah. Also food truck, yeah, can attend multiple events. Yeah. Great work, everyone. Yeah. All right. So I think I'm going to go back to my slides and you could still access the My Report as you like. But yeah, this is a great activity, everyone, and super helpful and also insightful to learn. Like maybe like like for I don't know, kind of like a newcomers, people who are new to this kind of area, they don't know much about where to get food from or the high quality food. So in here, like you can brainstorm in terms of like uh, what can they get, right? From where they can see and also access the food. Ciampelas Walk Market. Yeah. I've been to Ciampelas Walk Market as well. It's a nice place to hang out and also get food as well. Okay, I'll stop sharing and go back to my original slides. Let me see if I can. Okay. Right. So this is a case study where I did in the past, where I work as an intern at the township of Langley in British Columbia. So this is about like the project. So I won't go through like all of the details of the project, but the most important thing is this the objectives, which is kind of like carrying out research and summarizing opportunities for local government and to promote food growings in MURBS or multi-unit residential building. So it's low-rise or high-rise building where it can be used for offices, residential areas, or even for other functionalities. And this is why it is like important to have some of this like effort because it can enhance food security, promote sustainable practices of the food, and then fostering community engagement, supporting mental and also physical health, and generating economic opportunities if you can sell the food that is grown at your place, right? And the methodology, including interviews with policymakers, city staff responsible for urban planning, and also like sustainability, and also urban agriculture programs. And the locations are all for Canada in major cities, including Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, Victoria, and also the township of Langley. And this is just types or kinds of food growings initiatives, including planter boxes. This is, I think, one of the most prominent one for all of us. Like if you have like a small pots to grow fruits, and then this is allotment gardens. Allotment gardens is essentially when you live like in an apartment and they have dedicated like a space where you could have like this, for example, box of land and you can grow anything as you want. And community gardens, which is are essentially an extension of allotment gardens, but the way it works is that it's not like individual practice, but collective effort. So you plan with the group or the community members of your choice, and then you could start growing the food there. And then rooftop gardens, which is essentially like well, it's self-explanatory. It is kind of like grown at the rooftop of a building and edible landscaping. Edible landscaping, it can be like fruits or anything that can be in by humans and vertical farming. And some examples in here, this is from Victoria, British Columbia, which is actually the capital city of the province. So the Harvest and Share Food Relief Society in Victoria, they developed this rooftop garden in order to serve local communities while also growing food commercially. This is part of the Get Growing Victoria project, which is the highlight of the urban agriculture project in the area. And this is in the township of Langley on the right side of my slides. And residents are given kind of, well, actually, it's not given for free, but they have to pay actually for a certain amount of fees. For example, like $30 per month to use this plot. So they can grow vegetables like basil, kale, tomatoes, squash, chard, eggplants, or any other vegetables, or maybe the kind of smaller plants or horticultural crops, basically. And community gardens in Vancouver are all over the place, although there are a lot, but they're also like some sort of like a challenge in terms of waiting list or waiting time to get access to the food because of the high interest of the residents to access the community gardens. So maybe you can type in the chat again. Have you practiced any food growing activities at home or maybe at the place that you are staying, for example, in your kos-kosan or dormitory, or yeah, and then which type. So you don't have to answer why or why not. So yeah. So again, like this is the types of the food growings. Uh, so which one that you think you have practiced in the past or currently? Maybe you could type it in the chat. If you haven't done anything about this, you could also say no. Yeah. So feel free to throw some text in the chat. Yeah, has anyone practiced any food growings in their house or at the place where they are staying? I got like a response from Andrew Pigeons, practicing community gardening, yeah, pudik dumber system, yeah, or catfish and some green veggies in one basket. Okay, it's interesting, yeah, to see. Planter boxes, allotment garden, yeah, pak choy using hydroponics box. Yeah, planting melon in the garden. All right. Yeah, so I think you are already familiar with all of this and allotment garden in backyard. Yeah, so we don't have to go over the policies and supporting programs in here, but I would like to show you is the recommendation. So uh, the challenge with the urban agriculture and also like the food growing initiatives in the city of Vancouver and also like across Canada is that they need to design policy for the practice itself and also like working guidelines and providing financial and non-financial support because like not all of people can have some you know uh, money or like capitals to start planting, right? um, and also like they need to propose multi-purpose food gardening spaces and also let's say in the case for the apartment that they need more spaces in high selling amenities in MURVS because like sometimes like it can be challenging for the developers and also like managers to allocate certain piece of land to their residents to plant their fruits. So that's why like we want to advocate to the policymakers to make it a requirement for them to grow the food in their place. And the farmers market. So this is also one of the strategies that the city of Vancouver trying to put to boost the local food system, which is the farmers market. So unlike in here where lots of traditional markets can be everywhere, so in big cities or in Canada, the food are mainly sold in big places like the supermarkets, and farmers markets are becoming important as well to engage with the communities because they are closer to where they live, and also people can get access to high quality and nutritious food as well. Some pros including supporting local farmers and producers, boosting local economies, reducing food miles or the distances, and providing fresh produce and improving community cohesion. And the bad thing or like the critics are seasonality and availability, accessibility, and also like the high price that they set in the farmers market. So there are like some strategies, including policy frameworks, in which that we need some sort of like a guideline or political will from policymakers, and then infrastructures and also like resources, and also like the financial and non-financial support, education and awareness, which can be from local universities, from schools, or from local government, and innovation and technologies, including providing people with knowledge to access them, and then strategies to mitigate climate and adaptation strategies. Let's so I actually, well, this is actually the homework for you guys. Yeah, yeah. So you're being asked to identify a local food asset in any setting, and then analyze it by applying food security dimensions. So this is the food security dimensions. As you recall, the agency, stability, sustainability, access, availability, and utilizations. So in here you can identify food asset, like the one that we've seen on the my report, and then you can identify the dimensions, which are like which one are relevant, or applicable or not, and then including like the details like location, establishment, history, a little bit, and then key people involved in that food assets. And then what components in the food assets that can be leveraged to provide the most benefit to communities. For example, maybe like its locations, its affordability, or maybe like sometimes it can be like the environment, like you it's not you, but maybe like myself, for example, like when I want to visit like a local market, because like it's kind of like a dirty, and then it is kind of like a smelly, and then it's so crowded, and then people can maybe mark up their prices when it comes to like foreigners or newcomers. Sometimes like I feel like hesitant to visit it. So those kind of like thing, what kind of like components that can be fixed or mitigated to make the most benefit for the communities. But yeah, this is for your homework, I guess. So I guess I'll throw it to the summer course organizers to evaluate like your work in here. But yeah, I think I'll stop here, and then maybe let's open up like a room for discussion.
Yes,
Thank you so much, everyone.
okay, let's open up for discussion session. So, guys, if you have any question, please raise your hand, or if you're shy, you can type your question on the chat box. And if you like to ask in Bahasa, we are also welcome, and I will help you to translate the question. Okay, Ari Handoko, please open your mic and ask your question away.
Okay, thank you for your opportunity. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ari Handoko from IPB University. So I have two questions for Mr. Shukron. So based on your presentation, the local food must be treated within the local context. Can you elaborate once again about that term? Because I've not yet gotten about the term the local context is. And the second question is, so you explained about the neighborhood food networks in Canada. I want to ask about is that networks in Canada supported by governance or voluntary? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you, Mr. Arihandoko. Yeah, so the first one, which is about the local context, why it is like an important, and what is like local context, right? So in here, like we kind of like understand the social and also cultural backgrounds of the communities it's themselves. For example, like their religions, so they can for example identify what type of food items that can be produced. For example, like in here the majority of kind of like a Muslim, right? And then in certain like areas it's kind of like prohibited, for example it's not kind of like appropriate in terms of like their religions and beliefs to produce, for example, or to let's say, have like a pig farming or something like that, right? And then we also like need to understand like the cultural backgrounds and also educational background. Let's say like if you want to advocate like vertical gardening or maybe like hydroponics, stuff like that. And then whereas like all of or majority of the community members are not familiar with that one. So it might be like posing technical difficulties, right, for them. So it's kind of like appropriate for them to develop what is best for the communities or what kind of like interest. So it's not about like the food. Sometimes like I think in Yogyakarta, let's say like where there are lots of um, productions kind of like oversupplying the food items. The challenge is not the food growing, it's not the food production, but like how they market it. So right, and then so uh this why like this is not just kind of uh it's not a simple answer to that, but it also depends on what the community wants. And then the second one, which is kind of like the neighborhood and also like the um let's say like community support stuff like that. So they actually it is supported by the government and then the municipal government, which is the city of Vancouver. But the ones who work there can be like a full timers, like a people who are being paid by the government, and also like the volunteers. So usually like the who runs the day-to-day basis are volunteers, and then they can be like people who are doing internship from the universities. Yeah. So it is like a mixed supports.
Okay, we have another question, raise hand from Susan Sri Anggreni, please ask away.
Thank you for the opportunity. First, my name is Susan from Indonesia. I'm sorry, because I ain't able to open my camera due to internet connection. So, it is an interesting topic, and I do realize that Indonesia actually has a bunch of local food because of its privilege as one of the tropical countries with good land and also the weather conditions. But I also wondering why we are still bad in providing food for our country's people primarily. And I discovered that the system wherein our food supply chain, Indonesia has it's called pengkulak, who simply role as a person or a community where they becoming like one of the distributor sellers from the farmers to the consumers. And it wasn't made officially or even structurally, but it was naturally made over the years. And sadly, most of the cases reported that they are actually the food mafia of the food supply in Indonesia. My question is, by this concern, do we have any change to maximize the distribution and consumption of local food, for example, in Indonesia itself? Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much for your question, Susan. And so I'm just going to ask for a permission for kind of like a turn off my camera for a bit. I'm going to find a power outlet
Yeah,
because
it's
my
okay.
computer is almost dying. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine.
just
It's
a
fine.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm back actually. So thank you for holding up so far. And yeah, that's actually like an interesting, also a great question. So because like in Indonesia, there are lots of actually like tons of productions. So like the problem with us, it can be actually like from the actually like the two ways. So first of all is the political will or the kind of like the way that the policymakers are doing that. Although like we are good at purchasing lots of like the food items in here in Indonesia, but sounds like this thing that we see or something like that. And although like we producing like a lot, but sometimes like it can create a problem because that they are not prioritizing kind of like a local food products. over the imported goods. And the second one sometimes like from the consumer side is that sometimes like we are too hyped with the what's going on like at the global level. So we are trying to adopt what's happening like in other areas and trying to be more related to them. For example, like the rise of industrialized food or kind of industrialized food with the food chains like fried chickens and then maybe like the Western food they are coming into our countries or maybe like foods that are hyped out there. Sometimes like we forget that the local food is there, but we forget to not buy them. So this is like from the consumer side, and then the kind of the existence of middlemen or like tengkulak is there because sometimes like it's not the problem of the food system itself, but like sometimes like the farmers are not being able to market or find their market appropriately. Sometimes like they just want to get their products fast sold fast. Let's say like my farmers used to be my parents used to be farmers and then they planted like paddy fields, corns and etc. But sometimes like they are busy with their farm work so that like they won't be able to market their products directly to the consumers. That's why like they need kind of like a middleman to facilitate or to bridge between them and also like the end consumers. And yeah, this is kind of I don't know, I don't have like the answers to this, but this is one of like the most obvious kind of issues going on, and including like the food mafia as well. And then why and also like to the way that we can actually like maximize distributions and also consumptions is that in Canada or in Metro Vancouver, they have like a food distribution hubs in which the local farms could access to the wholesalers and also like they could there is also like a BC Council of Agriculture in which that they regulate um, in terms of like how much productions or quota that they can do. Let's say like in dairy farms, farmers have quota to produce the milk. So it's not like okay, I might have like uh, 100 for example like cows. No, they have to buy the quota so they can set the production method so that like the demand and the supply can be maintained very well. So and also like in terms of the productions, they can be sold at the designated locations. Unlike here in Indonesia where like we have to start like from scratch. It all depends on the producers or maybe the farmers. And then they have to find their own kind of local markets, which is challenging. Yeah, I think that's basically like what I've seen so far, like in Canada and also I mean here in Indonesia.
Okay, that's an interesting point of view actually. So before moving on to Andrew, I would like to read a question from the chat box first. So Shuki from Malaysia asking about the how can a temperate countries that largely rely on imports achieve food sovereignty since they cannot produce a major crops. So do you have any idea why it could happen in there rather than in Indonesia?
Yeah, so the food sovereignty is another kind of like a discussion, but I think I've seen that Canada is not food sovereign at all because of like its indicators from the food sovereignty, right? Because of the issue, it has to be based on the localized food production. It has to value, where food is being grown at the local level, stuff like that. So for this kind of like a questions, I don't think like Canada itself is food sovereign because they still rely on kind of imported goods or products from other countries, especially from United States, China, Japan, for not only like edible kind of products, but also like for other stuff as well. So that's why like the question for Canada or the effort for Canada is not how they achieve like food sovereignty, but rather than they maximize their efforts in a way that they can prioritize more local food systems because like they can never be food sovereign with their geographical locations, also like climatic conditions, right? Because they can grow like all season, all year, like here in tropical countries. But still, like the way that they put in terms of like the effort is supporting, like farmers or supporting consumers, encourage them to access local food by developing, let's say, farmers market. And then for those who are unable to get access to it because of its affordability, they provide, for example, like a coupon or vouchers for them to make sure that their household can be sufficient. So in here, I think it's kind of like downgrading from food sovereignty to kind of like more food security. So I've kind of like a listen less in terms of food sovereignty discussion in Canada, but more on food security because it doesn't kind of require where the food is being sourced, but as long as the food, then they think they can move with that, right?
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. So we are moving to Andrew. Andrew, please ask your question away.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And I want to thank Professor Moore for his insightful presentation. Thank you. Yeah, my question is this, and probably directed to the presenter, or maybe you want to have experiences from other persons in other countries. How do you address the issue of land ownership when it comes to young people being interested in agriculture as part of their contribution to food security? I want to give you an example where it's difficult for young people to have land ownership, to practice agriculture on their own. So you don't have money to buy a very large expanse of land to go into farming or any kind of agriculture to contribute to food security. The government is not giving you land to do that. Whereas we have been encouraged to go into agriculture and provide food. So how is this issue addressed in maybe Canada or other countries? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for the question. It's interesting. I think like the land tenure or land ownership is also becoming like a huge issue, not only like where we live here in Indonesia, but also like in Canada as well, because of the high entrance barrier in terms of accessing the land, and it's becoming more expensive. Oh, and also where it is expensive, it's becoming less accessible because of other functionalities, for example, like the new zoning, development planning, stuff like that. And in Canada, actually, there is a program like to support the new farmers by providing some sort of like a grants, although like they can't provide or promise that they'll be given like a piece of land, but it's kind of like a starting point for them to actually start farming. And that's why like they want to like to encourage kind of localized farming activities based on the collective efforts like community gardens, in which that in respective cities where they be or neighborhood, they could rent a piece of land and do it like for commercial. So there's like a actually like example that I provided like earlier, which is in the city of Victoria, the Share and Harvest program. They actually do not own like a piece of land actually. So they do it like on a rooftop gardens in a vacant building. So the building has been used in the past. It was used as a community garden in the past, but then like the residents feel that it's not lucrative for them. It is a lot of work for maintenance, for watering the plants, stuff like that. So the society took over the kind of area to rent it from the city actually to start gardening on the rooftop and also like provide develop some sort of vertical gardening. So in here I actually like the main problem sometimes it can be like our motivations as a young people as well as like how the government can support. Whereas like it might be like really difficult here like in Indonesia to start kind of like a farming from scratch if you do have piece of land, but maybe as a practice you can start it like at the place where you are right now. And then there, I think some sort of like technological advancement, like in agriculture, we do have, like um, hydroponics, aeroponics, which do not actually kind of like require a bunch of lands, right? So it can be like a vertical farming. For example, like if we are constrained by the amount of land we require. So yeah, we have to be more creative in a way that we can tackle like this problem.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Okay, Andrew. So we need to be more creative to grow our own crops, right? And mostly if you are living in the city where the land is just scarce and it's hard to get the land to grow, then you can just buy the pot and then buy the planting medium and grow the vegetables as simple as a cucumber, chili, or maybe some leafy vegetables. That's much easier to do and to practice. So guys, if you still have any question, please raise your hand or ask in the comment on the chat box. So Miss Salma, until what time for the discussion session?
Five minutes again, sir.
Okay, so guys, you hear from the uh, Master of Ceremony, we have 5 minutes more to have a discussion. So Shukran, Mr. Shukran, how are you? We have been like a long time not seeing each other, right? A decade maybe, right?
Yeah, I know. It's been years we've not seen each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And how is the Vancouver now? Still very cold, or I think it's about spring, right? Oh,
Yeah,
Andrew,
right now
you want to ask another
right now it's
question?
summer. Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
sure,
Can you
sure.
hear me,
Ask it.
please?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity again. I had wanted to ask before, but now that there is more time, I noticed something going on around my country area where I live because I have interest in agriculture so much. And what's going on is the contentions about genetically modified foods because of the idea of food security. So if you know genetically modified food, how food are grown in the laboratory and all of that, just to increase maybe to increase the quantity of food or the quality of food or to shorten the lifespan of how food have been grown. It has become a problem in part of the communities and city where I live. Not many of the population are willing to accept genetically modified food. Many people said, oh, it's going to be harmful, oh, it's going to have some implication, oh, it's going to have some health issues when we eat the food or consume the food in the long run. So my question is this: how has Canada or other persons who are on this forum, how has your government been able to convince the population that this food is safe and is going to be a way to solving food problems in your country? How will the population been able to be convinced to accept this idea of genetically modified food? Because as we speak, many people in part of the places where I live have not resolved to accept it. They are still selective. I'm also seeing that probably the government has not been able to convince the people that this food is safe. So what is the situation in your country? Has it been fully accepted? Has the government been able to let the people know that this food is safe and we are working towards food security? There are even some scientists in the country who are also kicking against the idea of genetically modified food. So what are your experience, please? Can you just share with us, please?
Yeah, and sure, that's interesting question. Although like, I'm not specifically kind of like focused on analyzing or kind of like learning about like GMO, but coming from I think a background from agriculture and from what I've witnessed in Canada, in terms of like genetically modified organisms, so it poses kind of like mixed reactions from policymakers as the one who sets the policy frameworks in regulating the GMOs and also from the consumer sides. So to me, like when it comes to GMO, Canada has adopted lots of GMO products. and including like canola for for oil, for vegetable oils, and corn, soybeans, sugar beets, and also like potatoes, as well as alfalfa. Um, so lots of like genetically modified organisms or crops are being developed and also like adopted there in a way that they could suffice the need for food productions. Again, also like for the export intentions. But the government of Canada actually like sets regulations for the producers, they are or growers that uses GMOs. So they are required to have labeling on their products. So to tell like to make the consumers or like a society aware that this product contains like GMOs. And then in this kind of like a labeling, the government trying to educate people that okay, this is content like GMOs, and then it might pose like a risk, blah blah blah, and stuff like that, so that like the consumers can have a choice. For example, like if they want to go with the GMO, which often is cheaper compared to like the conventional ones, so they know the risk. And also for certain kind of like a commodities like in BC, like for like I think like the dairy. So they are not allowed to use any GMOs for their feed because it is heavily regulated. And then with the supply chain management, which is kind of like the adversary council and also like the management stuff, they're they are not allowing a certain kind of like the GMO products as a raw materials or as input for their productions. So Canada government. So it can be like a both sides too. Like the government of Canada allows certain like the GMO products to be produced or grown in the country, whereas also like for kind of derivatives for products that Canada trying to produce, it is not like allowed. So it can, yeah. So because of like the protection of the consumers and also like choice and also like the harmfulness of for the kind of societies also like environments. So they need to assess it first before it is given like permissions. And also the concern for the growers actually, because like I've talked about like the government side and the consumer side, but for the farmers or producers, sometimes like the problem is the what's it called, like replicability or kind of like the breeding system of it, because sometimes like GMO cannot be derived for another varieties or right, and then sometimes like so it stops there, so they get access to the original seeds anymore, and then it becomes like it's useless. They have to fight again, and then although like it provides more yield or productivities, but still, yeah. So I mean that's my like insight. But I need to have a full answers to that.
Maybe I
Thank
will
you
give
so
like
much. Thank you
a
for
bit
Yeah.
like a point of view from Indonesia. So
Mm.
actually, Indonesia government they ban the GMO product, and we are not allowed to produce any GMO inside the country. However, since we still import soybean from the US, either way we eat actually a GMO product, but people not realize it. It's already become a food product. So I think that's one way of how the government can convince their people to eat the GMO product by unknowingly that they eat the GMO. And even though they eat the GMO, they don't have any problem. Like until today, I never find any problem that people eating tofu or tempeh from Indonesia have a certain problem. Okay, thank you so much for the question, Andrew. And I think this is the end of this summer course in this day. And Shukran, do you want to have a closing remarks, one or two sentence, please?
Yeah, so actually like to me as I think young generations that we are privileged, right, to have this kind of like educations. We have an access to information technology and other stuff. So I think we can leverage our roles not only as a consumers, as a passive consumers, but also we can be more active in supporting the local food systems in any ways. Although we are not from, for example, like agriculture background. So we can try to grow our food, which can be subsistence farming for fulfilling our needs, but also like, to contribute to the environment. We know that planting trees can provide like oxygen, right? And also can be healthy for the environment, and also, for the knowledge sharing, right? And also like for activities like increasing like physical activeness as well, and also getting closer to the nature. We don't want to be distant to the nature as well, because that's why like, we can appreciate more. And yeah, I leave it to all of you, everyone. So I think you know this one kind of better, but yeah, I think that's like 2 cents of my saying. And whatever I think it's not only like about like the local food system, but be kind of mindful in terms of like the food choice that we eat, because sometimes like we just take it for granted. We just eat it because our friends have it, because our friends told us to do so, but without knowing the nutritional kind of like facts, informations, which can be leading to other kind of problems like malnutrition, obesity, undernutrition, stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Shukran. And with this, I will close this session. So I will return the screen to Miss Salma as a Master of Ceremony. So Miss Salma, please, screen is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Anas. Today, what an insightful journey we've had today from Mr. Shukron presentation on local food system and food security. We've gained valuable perspective on the challenges and opportunities in strengthening local food. Thank you, Mr. Mushukron, for the insightful session, and Mr. Anas for being our moderator on this session. Thank you to all of your participants for being so enthusiastic. Let's give a virtual applause for all of us. Okay, let me remind you once again, as mentioned earlier during this session, please don't forget to fill out the attendance, because your attendance will directly affect of your certificate, so make sure you don't miss it. Okay, before we officially end today's session, let's take a moment to capture this beautiful memory together. We kindly ask everyone to turn on your camera and get ready with your bright smile. Let's wait a moment for all participants to turn on their camera. Okay, there is 3 slides, so I will guide you for the first slide first. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, last slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone. Kindly be reminded that the summer course will be continued tomorrow. We look forward to your active participation in the upcoming session. We hope this summer course has broadened your perspective and sparked new ideas. On behalf of the commit, I apologize for any shortcomings during the session. Let's see you in the next session. Once again, I'm Bintang Salma Ramayanti signing off. Have a great day.